right, I will call this meeting of the Senate Judiciary Committee to order and ask our esteemed secretary to please take the roll.
Senator Flores, Senator Orenshaw, Senator Lang, Senator Nguyen, Senator Hansen, Senator Krasner, Senator Ellison, Chair Scheibel.
Here, please mark Vice Chair Flores present when he arrives, and welcome everybody to Senate Judiciary Committee. Today we have a presentation on the agenda, and I think we're ready to get started. I will welcome Ms. Georgia Powers and Jenna Buonacorsi down to the front to tell us a little bit about the Nevada Department of Sentencing Policy. And as always with these presentations, then our members will have time to ask questions of the presenters, and after the presentation, I know our agenda says we have possible BDR introductions. We don't have any of those today, so we'll go into public comment after the presentation. And please go ahead whenever you're ready.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Chair Scheibel and committee members.
Oh, we do have a slightly new system with the microphones. There's a little button next to you. It should be lit up red.
It is.
Okay. That means that you have microphones on.
Am I close enough there? Is that better?
Yes, thank you.
Good afternoon, Chair Scheibel, committee members. My name is Georgia Powers, Georjapowers. I am the Executive Director of the Nevada Department of Sentencing Policy. This is Deputy Director Jenna Buonacorsi. The NDSP's mission is to promote an equitable and reliable criminal justice system by providing reliable criminal justice data, practical fiscal analysis, and comprehensive policy resources to lawmakers, stakeholders, and the public to ensure Nevada's sentencing and corrections policies and the Nevada criminal justice system as a whole are effective, data-driven, and resource-sensitive. The department's core values are that we dedicate ourselves to data that is practical, meaningful, sustainable, unbiased, and nonpartisan, collaborative, and Nevada-focused. Currently, NDSP has 6 positions. The Nevada Sentencing Commission is housed within the Department of Sentencing Policy. The Nevada Local Justice Reinvestment Coordinating Council was instituted to help identify needs at a local level. Last session, the Nevada Sentencing Commission Misdemeanor Subcommittee was established to study misdemeanor sentencing in Nevada. NDSP has been tasked with developing a centralized database regarding sentencing and criminal justice processes. The Microsoft SQL Server Studio was the last step in this development. NDSP worked closely with the Office of the Chief Information Officer to create a Microsoft SQL Server Management Studio database, which after a year of planning and development is now up and running. This will allow NDSP to store, process, and query data more efficiently. One mandate of NDSP is to analyze various aspects of the Nevada Department of Corrections population. We review annual trends in the total population broken down by category and offense group. In the past, NDSP and NDOC have mainly looked at the most serious offense when analyzing the population. Through collaboration with NDOC, NDSP has developed an all-offense data set which reports every offense on an offender's current booking, not just the most serious. This allows NDSP to have a more precise understanding of sentencing trends in Nevada. We also break the information down by an offender's imprisonment status to determine trends over time. Another way we evaluate trends in the DOC population is to break it down by age group, which has led us into additional analysis. The Department of Sentencing Policy was asked by the Commission to examine the aging population of the Nevada Department of Corrections. The U.S. Department of Justice, Bureau of Justice Statistics, defines the aging prison population to be offenders aged 55 years or older. Studies show this population group is more susceptible to costly chronic medical conditions. They typically experience the effects of age sooner than people outside of prison due to issues such as substance use disorders, inadequate preventative and primary care before incarceration, and stress linked to prison life. Industry research estimates the cost of housing aging individuals at 4 times that of the younger population. Here we see the aging population versus those younger than 55 broken down by felony category. When we break the aging population down further, we can see that the majority are 55 to 64 years of age. When looking at trends in offense groups for the aging population, only violence has shown a continued increase. Outside of felony categories and offense group, we also like to look at other trends, such as number of offenses on current booking. Here you see the vast majority of offenders in the aging population have 1 or 2 offenses on their current booking. Prior criminal history is also a data point we review to pinpoint possible trends. This includes prior jail incarcerations, terms of probation, and prison incarcerations. It is also interesting to see how long the aging population offenders have actually served on their current bookings. Our research into the aging population led us into an analysis on medical costs within the NDOC and how that has compared to the population over time. In 2023, total medical costs for the Nevada Department of Corrections were $16,139,035.44, and the largest portion was hospital emergency room visits, followed closely by general office visits. After completion of the aging population study, commission members were interested in the young adult DOC population, which is comprised of offenders 24 years and younger, to include juveniles adjudicated as adults. Here we see felony category trends for this young adult population, of which Category B makes up the most serious offense on the majority of bookings. While we expected to see the property and drug reduction due to Assembly Bill 236 of 2019, one thing our department found striking about the trends in young adult admissions was the reduction in admissions for violent offenders. We are continuing research into this age group. In the 2023 legislative session, collection of data regarding homicides in Nevada was transitioned to the Nevada Department of Sentencing Policy. Population size and homicides do not necessarily have direct correlation. Nevada has great disparity in county size, the largest ranging from just 736 people in Esmeralda to over 3 million in Clark County. Clark County reported the highest number of homicides under NRS 170.750 for 2023. However, the per capita homicide rate is lower than that of other counties. Lincoln, Pershing, Nye, and Lyon, for example, each reported a higher homicide rate per capita. 8 counties reported no homicides for 2023. Here you see the final case dispositions for the murder and involuntary manslaughter cases. The NDSP was able to change the way the county DAs submit the information for this report, and we were able to do it online now. In March of 2024, there were no incarcerations under the new fentanyl NRS. NDSP used hypotheticals to inform possible future outcomes. This is our report from March. That's okay. NDSP now has data on arrests and convictions under NRS 453.3387 regarding fentanyl and its derivatives through October 2024. Of the 50 individuals with arresting charges under the Nevada offense codes for fentanyl, only 2 were convicted under the original charge, and both were through a guilty plea. At the time of this report, neither had entered NDOC custody. However, updated information shows they have been admitted. The Nevada Local Justice Reinvestment Coordinating Council was appropriated grant funds through Assembly Bill 388 of 2023. There were $3 million appropriated, and these are the NLJR grant applications selected for funding. The state money column in this graph is the amount awarded from the $3 million available state funds. Governmental entities were required to provide a 30% match. This amount can be found in the match money column. All governmental entities except the Las Vegas Municipal Court provided an in-kind match of staff time. The Las Vegas Municipal Court provided a cash match, significantly extending the benefit to the grant's target population in Clark County. We are monitoring the grants closely. NDSP tracks NDOC long-term, and one way you can view these is through the dashboards on the NDSP website. We have shown our website and dashboards before. However, there have been updates to the information available. One such advancement is information by county. Our current project is to make the new all offenses database available via the dashboards. NDSP was asked in the fall of 2023 if the department could duplicate the prior contract holders' prison projections for the state of Nevada. The Nevada Department of Sentencing Policy worked closely with the NDOC and Parole and Probation to complete this report. The Nevada Department of Sentencing Policy intends to continue to publish post-conviction population trends and projections as a neutral Nevada agency by utilizing our comprehensive understanding of Nevada criminal justice, proven open communication with Nevada criminal justice stakeholders, and consistent access to Nevada offender data. Currently, the statute does require an outside vendor to complete the projections. Here are samples of improvements we suggest for future projection reporting to include a 3-biennia look at post-conviction populations and projections on the fiscal year to better facilitate the budget building process for agencies. Recommendations that have come from the Nevada Sentencing Commission include continued financial support to the Nevada Local Justice Reinvestment Coordinating Council grant efforts for the 2026-2027 budget cycle. Financial support should be given to the Department of Corrections and the Division of Parole and Probation to improve their respective data system. Data is not readily available to the Commission and the Department of Sentencing Policy to track the rerouting of justice-involved individuals due to Assembly Bill 236 of 2019. Methods of data collection and required submission of data should be considered. One statutorily required component of calculation in statute, the 2018 JFA projection report, only projected NDOC population through 2028. This is the last year that the projection of costs avoided report will cover a full biennium. This language will need to be changed. Coming projects for the Nevada Department of Sentencing Policy is legislative session support and analysis through fiscal notes, ad hoc queries, and fact sheets, completion of the young adult offender analysis, and habitual offender study, NDOC female population analysis, misdemeanor offenses analysis, continued improvement to the post-conviction population projections model, and continued advancements on publicly available dashboards. The Nevada Department of Sentencing Policy has been called upon and continues to be available to help identify how new or changed legislation may affect the NDOC population and recognize any possible unintended consequences. Our contact information is available here, and we are open to any questions you may have.
Thank you so much. The amount of data that the Department of Sentencing Policy houses is truly remarkable. And I mean, you are an excellent resource to us, and I know that you have presented in past Judiciary Committee meetings and provided us with all kinds of important information as we make our decisions going forward. So I just want to, give a shout out to you all for the hard work that you do to keep all of this information and such an excellent job distilling it into that presentation. I will go to questions from members of the committee, starting with Senator Krasner.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you for your presentation today. I was just looking at page 23 of the presentation where it talks about final case disposition. It says the majority here, 135, are not reported. What does that mean, and why are they not reported? Thank you.
I am going to defer to Deputy Director Bonacorsi for that question.
Thank you, Senator Krasner. This is Jenna Bonacorsi for the record, JennaBunacorsi. The not reported section was due to in 2014 when we did the data collection for 2023's data. How the data was collected in the past when we inherited it was through a PDF that was filled out. And so there was some counties that had left that section blank, and that was either, majority of that was due to them just not having that information available at that time. And so since then we have updated the report to an online forum, and so now the reporting counties are no longer able to leave an answer blank. They must acknowledge if that information is not available to them or answer the question. So for this next year, for 2024, we hope to have a better understanding of the lack of reporting with this specific NRS 178-750 report.
Thank you.
Other questions from members of the committee? Okay.
Can I add real quickly to
Please,
this?
go ahead.
Georgia Powers for the record. We did work very closely with the DA's Association to see what the difficulties for them getting certain information was. And so just so that you understand that we have talked to the stakeholders and we're trying to make this the easiest possible way for them to get the data to us. And if there are missing pieces of data across the board, any ways that we can help to fix that.
Thank you. I don't see other questions from members of the committee. I have a question. Even though I was here when we passed SB 35 last year, you had mentioned that you didn't have, either there were no arrests or incarcerations or you didn't have data from 2024. Does that have to do with the implementation date of SB 35?
Georgia Powers for the record. Yes, at the time of our March report, no one had been arrested or convicted under those NRS for the offense codes. And so we just gave hypothetical information. As of October, we were able to get arrest data and the 2 convictions that we mentioned.
Okay, that makes sense, thank you. I have another question, because you guys also track, it looks like a lot of data about the Department of Corrections population, and I'm interested in the number of people who are currently housed in the Department of Corrections on parole violations, and if that's a number that you have access to.
Georgia Powers for the record. I believe Deputy Director Bonacorsi is looking that up, but that is something that we are continually studying. The trends are very interesting, and so I will let her.
Yes, thank you, Jenna Bonacorsi for the record. The best way to look at that specific question is to look at the offender's imprisonment status. When an offender is brought back into NDOC custody, their imprisonment status is going to change. And so on this chart right here, you see we have, is this not on the screen? Yeah. We have parole violators broken down into 4 different categories, and that is internal for NDOC, depending on the type of parole that they were out on and the reason that they have come back. So you'll see there's a parole violator with no new conviction, a parole violator with a new conviction, a mandatory parole violator with no new conviction, and a mandatory parole violator with a new conviction. Now, the difference between a parole and a mandatory parole is just the type of parole that they were released on, if it was based on their mandatory parole eligibility date, or if it was by being seen by the board afterwards and being released on parole. The no new conviction versus the new conviction elaborates on if the offender came back due to with an additional JOC and a whole new conviction, or if they are back because they violated that parole in a technical sense or something along those lines, not with an actual conviction. And so we can add those sections up, or just for simplicity, we put them all separate on here so you can see the distinctions.
Thank you. And that does help answer my question, because, correct me if I'm wrong, I'm looking at this far right column for 2024, and so line 5, I guess, would be a parole violator with no new convictions, and we have 665 of those. And then parole violators with new convictions, there are 119. So we have like 6 times as many people in on technical violations than people who actually picked up new cases.
Yes, and one other thing to clarify with that, when an offender is brought back into NDOC, and that new conviction may or may not be closed yet, they are brought in with no new conviction, and then once that process has happened and the case has been officially closed and they've either received the new conviction or not, then that imprisonment status is updated. So some of those offenders who are in that in-between period before their they have an actual conviction are going to be entered as that no new conviction, and then that will be updated once it's been given.
Okay, and am I correct that those violators that we're talking about who are awaiting their disposition of their case, if they are convicted of another felony, that sentence has to run consecutive to the sentence that they're serving their parole on, right?
Yes, that's correct.
And so we see the same thing with the parole and the mandatory parole. What is this not physically REC?
Offenders who are not physically received, there are different reasons. Generally, they are in another state serving a sentence, and so they are not received in Nevada. However, they are running their sentence, or they are coming to Nevada to begin their sentence.
Okay. I was wondering if it might have been people who were on parole and actually out in the community on parole, but that number is not reflected in this table, correct?
No, these are only people who are in the NDOC population.
Okay. Would the Department of Sentencing Policy track information about people on parole who are not in the Department of Corrections, or is that a different agency?
No, I can answer this one. So we work really closely with the Department of Parole and Probation, and we have very limited data. They're in the process of updating their offender management system, and so some of their reporting has been I guess, challenging to get some of those numbers on the different breakdowns for the type of offenders on parole. And so they are in the process of getting that. We're hoping that that'll be done within the next few months. And so as soon as we have more readily available information, the Department of Sentencing Policy will start producing comparable numbers to DOC for parole and probation.
Excellent. Thank you. Those are my questions. It looks like Senator Ellison has a question.
Thank you, Madam Chair. You might have went over this and I didn't catch it. How many people are in life sentences that are in the state system right now?
Thank you for the question, Senator. Off the top of my head, I do not have that number right now, but that is a number we do track. We just did not include it in this specific report, but on our actually, that's one on our dashboard. We have some other reports that we have had out where when we did the aging population, that was information that we provided. Our actual aging population presentation took 5 different iterations of about 50 slides worth of information presented, so we only gave a very small amount here. So we tracked that. I just don't have it readily available, but we could follow up with you and provide that answer.
The reason I ask that is that determines on your budget, because they're going to be there for a long time, and it's got to reflect this on your budget. So if you could get that to us, that'd be important, I think, to look at. Thank you.
Absolutely, we'll get that to you as soon as possible.
Yeah, Senator Orangel.
Thank you, Chair. I was wondering, does the office track inmates who've been sentenced under the habitual criminal statutes? And if you have that information, could you provide it with the committee?
Yes, Georgia Powers for the record. We do track that. We have started a deep dive into the habitual criminal population, and we can get that report to you as soon as we have it completed.
Thank you. And may I have one follow-up, Chair? We had another presentation from NDOC, and the director mentioned that there are some inmates who've been paroled, but they're still at NDOC facilities because the housing hasn't been confirmed. They're just kind of sitting there. Do you track that, and do you know how many inmates have been granted parole but are still kind of sitting in NDOC facilities?
Georgia Powers for the record. We don't actually track that, but we do have access to that information, the people who are on what is called the overdue parole list, and we could get that to you also.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Chair.
Any other questions? All right, thank you so much for your presentation and for answering all of our questions and all of the good work that you do. We really appreciate you.
Thank you very much.
And having completed the presentation for today, that takes us to the last item on our agenda, which is public comment. Is there anybody in person to give public comment in Carson City or Las Vegas? I am not seeing anybody coming down to the table in either location. So we'll go straight to the phones for public comment. If you are going to give public comment, please give us your name and its spelling and keep your comments limited to 2 minutes.
Thank you, Chair. The public lines are open and working. However, there are no callers to provide public comment at this time.
All right, in that case, that brings us to the conclusion of our meeting. We will be here again tomorrow at 1 p.m. and until then, we are adjourned.